So that about wraps it up for episode 2 of the Scott Rewatch podcast, covering Where There's a Will, There's a Fae.
Of the Scott Rewatch podcast?
Is that what I just said? Well, no, you have to keep that in. Like, you can't get rid of that. Of the Scott Rewatch. Ah! That's okay. Clearly, that's a Freudian slip of what I wanted the title of this podcast to be. Welcome to the Lost Girl Rewatch podcast with Scott and Stacie. I'm Scott. This is Stacie, or wherever she is on my screen. Is she over here? Don't know. Today we are covering episode 2 of Lost Girl, called "Where There's a Will, There Is a Fae."
They always sneak fae in the title some way, somehow.
Yeah, they love their puns. They love their fae puns, and I'm here for it. The first episode, we come in and they're gathering materials for what Ken says is a crack shack, which is where Bo and them are currently living.
The clubhouse is what they kind of refer to it as in future episodes. But yeah, it's like their house with no proper walls. All their windows are like boarded up. It looks like they're preparing for a zombie apocalypse or something.
Or they're just really wanting someone to come in and squat. Because that's what it seems. It looks like a house someone would squat in.
You know, the real estate market in Toronto.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like that's exactly the point I was making. I mean, like, people gotta do what they gotta do, right? So they're in a hardware store, and they come upon a very attractive looking man, and Bo's staring, and Kenzie's like, "You okay?" And she's like, "I'm hungry," and I'm like, "Girl, same." But Kenzie decides to step in and stops Bo from doing what she does, and the dude kind of gives like a, what's with that? And she says,
"Trust me, buddy. You already got lucky."
Like, I just saved your life, pal. You have no idea.
Another great one-liner from Kenzie.
So we flash to the woods at night. We can start to see, this is where our storyline of the episode is coming in. We flash to the woods at night. There's a man running through the woods, and every once in a while we see like a green flame explosion, just coming out of like a bunch of different directions. We can tell this is clearly somebody trying to confuse this man, but also green fire, look cool. We're going through the woods, he's running through the woods, and we see that flash of green light, and he almost falls off a cliff. And then he says to himself, or whatever is causing these explosions, "Nice try." As if this is almost something that he's been through before, as is an experience that he's had. He's perhaps been doing this sort of thing for a while. Not running, but like investigating is what it seems that this guy's doing. Whatever it was that this thing was doing to try and distract this man clearly did not work, because he comes to, I wrote down Hobbit hole in the ground, because it was very like, that's what it looked like to me.
And then a giant treasure chest. It's like he found the leprechaun at the bottom of the rainbow.
They threw in some green jewels on there on purpose, just to like give you that, like, because I think they maybe wanted you to think like, "Ooh, is this an episode with a leprechaun in it?" I feel like I don't know. I kind of felt like that's kind of what they were doing. So he finds this chest of treasures and jewels and all that, and he gets a little smirk on his face, and we go to our first episode that has the famous title sequence that I really, really enjoy. And I never skip it anytime.
"I will live the life I choose."
Hell yes, you will.
Quotes to live by.
Yeah, and like, honestly, like, there's so many shows where like you skip the credits. I feel like the only time I ever watched the credits from Game of Thrones was the first and the last episode, just to be like, well, I'm never gonna see these again, so I guess I'll watch them one last time. But like, I always skip them.
That one's way too long.
This is a 4 minutes, and it's gonna be your whole life. Yeah. So I never skip those credits. But we get to the end of those. She's gonna live the life she chooses, and we're back to Bo and Ken's redecorating in the room when, boom, we see another one of those green flames that we saw in the middle of the forest. Only it's in their living room. Like, come on, like, really? Our living room?
And I love how at this moment, Bo, you know, reaches for a weapon, and because they just got back from the hardware store, the only thing she finds is a plunger. And she's just holding this plunger in this menacing way.
It's not even a used plunger.
Brand new.
The fear's gone. Yeah, brand new. So like the fear's like, I'm really not scared of that. And he says that it's a reflex. His name is Will. People call him Will of the Wisp. I mean, I've definitely heard that before. I'm sure there's lots of mythology behind that. I personally did not look any up, but I'm sure somebody may have.
Of course I did. Which, by the way, okay, so for anyone who's watching the video here, now is the time that I need to show you this, like, very Lord of the Rings-esque brown leather notebook that I got. I feel like the camera doesn't pick it up very well. Maybe we'll post a picture of it on the Instagram for people to see it a little bit better. This is my, like, trying to be Trick, who we met in the last episode, having all the knowledge about the myths and the folklore and stuff.
She wants you to know that this notebook is thousands of years old, and she's maintained deep knowledge from it, and you should all be terrified, is what she's trying to say. Run. Run.
When I texted Scott a photo of this picture, I'm like, hey, look, I found the perfect notebook. He was like, if you open it and there's Latin writing in it, please set it on fire.
I totally forgot that I said that.
It was empty, unfortunately. I have to actually write into it.
Yeah, she had to put her own witchcraft in there, damn
it. Of course. Will of the Wisp comes from English folklore roots. It means foolish fire. It was actually, I guess, like translated into Latin and then back. So igneus fatus is the Latin version of that.
That's cool, because that guy's kind of a dope, and he can't. That's oh, okay. That's awesome. Okay.
So the reason why it's called foolish fire, there's a phenomenon called la luz mala, which means evil light in Latin American mythology. So it's kind of a common thing where you see lights in the marsh or in the bog or something like that, flickering orbs that entice travelers to follow them. So that's what we were kind of seeing in the intro, but in that case, the guy seemed like he's seen this before. He's not being fooled by it. He knows that it's trying to lead you astray or lead you into danger or to distract you from whatever your actual mission is. So I think that really sets up the whole rest of the episode.
Like you said, like he wasn't fooled by it. Like that you just get boom, and he's like, girl, I've seen it before. I'm good. I already know what this is.
But Bo is already gonna get fooled by this guy's distraction. I think that's the best way to put it.
Well, to be honest, like this, like because like I've watched the show before, but this episode gagged me when I watched it. I was like, ooh, these are so many twists that I do not remember. I was like, this is good. And then Kenzie says a fat joke. And he says that it's something that this fey creature that seems thousands of years old just like says something very human and just like it's something that I've always wrestled with, and it's like, aw.
Kenzie's totally fat shaming him throughout this whole episode, and it's like really unnecessary.
Yeah, it's very of the time that you couldn't watch a sitcom back in the year that this was made without there being a bunch of fat phobic jokes, and like everyone was guilty of laughing at it back then, but right now anytime I hear a joke like that I'm just like, ick. I don't like it.
And it's like he's just got a pot belly, like it's not that big of a deal, you know. He's an old man, give him a break, like come on.
I hope to let myself go long before 1,000 years from now. So he says that he is a woodland light fae, so he is on the light side of the fae despite the trouble that he seems to be causing at the moment. And that people have been coming for his treasure for a very long time. And that guy from the beginning stole all of his gold. Will wants to hire Bo, and Bo's really doesn't want to do it. And then Will says something very strange and goes, "Do you have a birthmark? Do you have a birthmark right above just above your heel?" And then Bo has the most shocked look on her face that we've seen in the whole 42 to 60 minutes that we've known her watching this series. And that 28 years ago, a woman came crashing through the woods with a baby that had a birthmark in the same spot that Bo has.
Can I say Bo looks very like, oh, okay, intrigued. Kenzie immediately looks like sus.
Well, yeah, she's very just like, I feel like this is convenient. It's not
Mhm.
like this seems oddly too convenient. Kenzie decides that in order for this to go forward, that she would like some money, and Bo says no.
I think Bo very naively is like, this guy's information that I need, and so I'm not going to take money for this job. And Kenzie, again, as we see, ever the opportunist. But I think she's also like, you don't know that you can trust this guy. Like, he says he
No.
has information about you and where you come from, but you don't know if that's true or not. So we might as well make some money out of this deal as well.
I mean, like I want to get something, maybe get fed or something. Because at this point, like we're allegedly like, these people, they have no source of income other than I suppose Ken's does steal wallets. She did say that she's a collector of fine wallets.
So I think it's right before this scene. Actually, they're carrying in like a piece of furniture, and Kenzie's saying how heavy it is. And Bo is like, no problem. Like, she's just like, just lift. Like, she just says, like, nonchalantly, like, just lift. Bo is like, by the way, like, how did you get this? Like, I thought, we don't have the money to buy something like this. And Kenzie's like, oh, we liberated it. And Bo was like, okay, no, we're not going to steal. We're trying to not catch the attention of the Fae. We can't do anything that will attract attention. She says, we're not thieves. And Kenzie's like, thief is such a hard word. Think of it as redistribution. So she's a little communist going on over here, considering her background, But anyways.
Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. Yeah, well, actually, yeah, no, that makes more sense. Yeah, now that you mentioned that, yeah. We put it as liberation. It's fine.
They're going to make their place look good, and they have to do it somehow. But yeah, Kenzie's like, we're providing a service, right, to this guy. He did say, he came in and said he wants to hire her, right? So that implies they're going to get paid for this. But Bo says it's a risk she's willing to take. She doesn't want this guy's money. And so this is interesting. Okay, so it brings me back to the first episode when I said, Kenzie's pretty street smart. Why would she take a drink from a stranger at a bar? Like, she should know better. But we're also going to learn later, I don't even think it comes up in this episode, she likes to drink a lot. So all of these characters are like, they're multifaceted, right? So we know that Bo is very intelligent, very strong. It's going to be very hard for someone to take advantage of her. However, she doesn't know who she is, where she came from. She's desperate for answers. And so she's going to make some not so wise choices, not because she's naive, I don't think, but because she's desperate to understand like where she came from.
Yeah, in her mind, she's like, I'm almost 30, and I have no idea who I am. That's a horrible thing for someone to have to deal with.
Let alone if you're also a succubus.
Yeah, I know.
For a regular 30-year-old.
But either way, I get it. So we go to the cops now. We're over with Dyson and Hale. That's right, Dyson and Hale, and we're in the cop station, and Bo's in there chatting up all the background police officers in there, and apparently she had said to them that she was Dyson's girlfriend. When they're all giving him that smirking look, like yeah, like dude, like ugh, God.
Speaking of ugh, God, is the conversation that Hale is happening right before Bo comes in, which is about this.
Oh, ooh! Oh, I didn't take any notes on that. I wanted to. I thought it was oh God! I was just like, let's skip right over that. That was gross.
That was gross, but I had to do a little bit of folklore dive into that.
Oh, right. Yes, of course. The Gemini thing, of course.
Okay, so he called this woman a splitter, which is basically she can, like, make a duplicate of herself. And then, he's talking about his little threesome fantasy going on. Dyson is like, oh, she's a Gemini? So I looked up a splitter and a Gemini. I actually couldn't find anything on splitter, so I guess that's just a creation of the show. But Geminis, by the way, were two twin brothers, Castor and Pollux, in the original Greek myth. There's only like more modern artistic renditions of two female Gemini, but originally they're supposed to be a man. So I thought you would enjoy that Hale's threesome fantasy, if it was realistic, would actually be 3 men.
I'm a lot less offended now. Oh, yeah.
If you're not watching the video, guys, you really have to, just to see Scott's face that he just made right there.
We go to the cops, and Bo wants help. Bo wants some help trying to figure out who this person is based on the belongings that were given to him in the backpack from Will to track down this man that stole all of his gold. Dyson says no. And then Bo decides, well, you do realize that I know a lot of stuff, and I could like tell people who you are, and I could blow up your life. Boom. So Dyson quickly changes his mind.
Which, by the way, I think was an empty threat. Like, why would she do that? Because then she'd also out herself.
Yeah, I think it was an empty threat for sure, but he couldn't. There's no way he could take the risk. I don't think. Not with how it seems, with how close he is to the Ash. I don't know. They seemed pretty friendly. I feel like he would get in a lot of trouble. After she blackmails Dyson, we go to the bar, and Bo meets Trick for the first time. Mm-hmm. I love this actor who plays Trick so much. I love his delivery. It's not even that like he puts you in such a false sense of security as Bo and the viewer. I'm just like, you know what? You may be up to no good, but you're relaxing about it.
He has this like wise man archetype energy, like the, Hagrid almost is like, I have all this knowledge and I'm going to bring you into this world that you know nothing about, but I'm super friendly and I'm going to give you a cup of hot tea, It's like,
yeah, exactly, all of that. And then they talk with Trick privately. They get into the room and remarks that it kind of looks like something from Tolkien in his office. And then Trick says, well, where do you think he got it from? Okay.
Before that, they have this very interesting exchange where, like, right before they go off to have this private conversation, Trick is telling her that the politics of remaining undeclared are complicated. And she says, in response, well, I'm not very political. And he says, that's not something you get to decide on your own. So what do you think Trick is insinuating there? That, like, he's going to choose for her? Other people are going to choose for her?
Is it just a statement on where we are in politics today? Because at this point, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, you don't have a choice. Like, no matter what you do, it is. But obviously it wasn't. There was a different time back then. So I feel like back then, at the time of the show, you could say that you were not into politics, and you could probably actually be not into politics. It was just a thing that didn't feel as important to people back then. I don't know. But so I think it was that. I think it was eventually her actions, no matter what, and because of something that Trick clearly knows about this character's like grand destiny. You can just tell, like, he knows, like, you're gonna have to choose at some point. Like, it's like he knows. So we learn that she was born of 2 fays. Once they go into this private conversation in Trick's office, we'll call it, born of 2 fays because she has powers. And this is when we learn that if a fae mates with a human, the resulting offspring will not have abilities. So this means that both of Bo's parents were fae. We don't know what kind either one of them were, though.
Yeah, another couple of great lines that Trick has in this scene. I think Bo was saying, like, oh, so all these fae have something kind of freaky going on, and he says, freaky is in the eye of the beholder, which I love. He also says that it's more comfortable for us to remain a myth. So she has to kind of sign into this guest book that he has. So everyone who comes into the bar, which at this point he only calls the doll. We'll know later it has a longer name, but the doll is like the short form. Mm-hmm. And anyone who comes in who's like new to the town has to kind of sign into this book. and they're supposed to also sign the name of both their parents, but obviously Bo doesn't know.
She's just like going to sign this book. Like, should I be concerned if the person who signed this before me's name was Lucifer, or should I? Is he still here? And that we also find out that that the light and the dark fae have been on the edge of war for over 1,000 years, and that Bo needs to know why she was ditched. Is the next point that we run into. Is that she needs to know why she was ditched by her parents. That's her primary goal, it seems, at least for the foreseeable future. She has to know that.
And at that cliffhanger, I think it'd be a good time for us to take a little break for some ads. But we will catch you on the flip side. We will be right back.
No, we are not thieves. Thieves is such a harsh word. Think of it more as redistribution.
Oh my gosh, okay. Welcome back to the Lost Girl Rewatch. We had left off that the Fae were at the edge of war for 1,000 years. So I'm wondering what exactly it is that has been happening for the last 1,000 years that has made them so volatile. I'm sure we will learn in the future.
They're at a Cold War right now.
Oh, yeah. It's quiet. It's in the background, yeah. We get to Michael Connell, and we find out that that is the name of the person that owns the gun that was in that bag that was handed to Bo by Will. So we have our man, and Dyson tells Bo to be careful who she trusts.
So he's kind of echoing what Kenzie's saying, that we need to watch out for people who will claim that they have information that you're looking for, but we don't know how truthful those people are going to be.
Well, because it seems very clear at this point that the community in general seems to know more about her than she does herself, even if it's just rumors for all those people know.
Exactly, yeah.
Shook says to Dyson after Bo goes that if she is who I think she is, managing her will be more than any one of us are up to. I was like, ooh. I was like, because like I said, it's been so long since I've seen this show. So to be honest, at this point, I can honestly tell you, I actually don't know who she is at this point. Like at least from my memory. So I'm hearing that, I'm very intrigued as a viewer. I'm like, okay, like this woman is extremely important. What is going on here, and why does this man know so much about it? And how long have they known this was coming for?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm wondering if Trick and the Ash and all these people have just been, like, lying in almost fear for the last 28 years, wondering if this baby died at birth, or if they're in hiding, or if they're going to come out, and I don't think that they knew what was going to happen.
And that's a good point that you mentioned there, like, how much of this is rumors or myth? A lot of, even what you think might be some truth about her, might be lies, might be manipulation, who knows? There's just, like, so many intentions of people who we don't know well enough to know what their intentions are. And I think this Will guy could fall under that, or this man who the gun belonged to, who she now follows into a trailer park where they pull up. I don't know if you looked up the song that they were listening to in their car when they pull up to this trailer park, but it's an awesome song. I didn't look it up.
No, I didn't, but I should have Spotify. I should have Spotify'd that, honestly. But it wasn't good. And that's another thing, is that the song, like, you can tell that I'm not sure if they are picking Canadian artists for these songs. I would imagine that they are, and I feel like they're highlighting, like, small Canadian artists at the time, that
will come up later, for sure.
Yes, yeah, which I love.
But this episode is the first time we see her signature banana yellow Chevy Camaro, which we actually saw, I don't know if you remember, when we went to a fan expo, it was parked in the convention center.
Oh my gosh, I do remember that. Oh, that was so long ago.
Yeah, because in the first episode, remember when they were getting, like, kidnapped? I'm pretty sure Bo was driving a car in the first episode, but it's not...
No, it was blue.
The Camaro. Yes, it was a dark blue. Yeah. So this is the first time this banana yellow Camaro comes in, but we will see it many times after. It's just like, it's like a heap of trash, but it's also a really sexy car somehow.
I'm always also this is like I'm like shamefully in love with yellow cars. I love them. I don't know. I'm terrible. But I love them. I love those eyesores. They're amazing. So we get to this trailer park. They get to the door. They go to open up the door. Kenzie and Bo, and they see a little string. It's like, uh-oh, it's a trap, and a gun goes off, and we get a wound on Bo's hand. They get in there, and they start looking around, they find the like papers and like books. This person was doing research for a really long time, and it's become obvious now that Connell was not necessarily looking for the treasure, but hunting Will. So a lady pops in with an accent that I could not place, and she's got a gun and she's threatening the both of them. Bo gets nice and close and touches her face and goes, "Don't worry, I'll explain it. It's fine. Don't worry. Like, I'll just explain it all. You'll feel better in just a second."
We mentioned in our first episode we're not sure where this story is supposed to take place. But if you weren't sure if it's in America, you know now.
Yeah.
With all the guns that people have. So the sign when they pull in, like, there's a fence, and it said, "Trespassers will be shot. Survivors will be shot again."
I did not notice that. Okay, we're in America.
So I think her accent is supposed to be, like, Southern? I don't know. But
yeah. All we know is that we need to ignore the CN Tower in the background. You're in America. So she gets in there, she glamours this lady, and then she starts doing her thing to drain the lady, and Kenzie, I think rightfully so, steps in, and we get a really scary moment where Bo turns around and grabs Kenzie's neck out of anger with those glowing blue eyes. And honestly, it's such a cool. I like paused it. I was like, it was a really really cool shot. And Kenzie looks scared to death, but also I don't know. There was a kind of a look in her eye where she's just like, "Girl, you're gonna let go of my neck. Like you can stop now.
You're gonna mess up my giant rose choker thing." I don't know what that was. Oh, that was a choice wardrobe item.
I suppose like she probably have approached it like my character steals things, and nothing that she has on her body is her own. Probably, I don't think she owns anything, and none of that stuff belongs to her. So I would say that like that necklace she stole from some garish lady's house, and she's been wearing it ever since.
That's very convincing. You sold it.
I think I did. The choking stops, and Bo says sorry. She turns and says to Kenzie, she's like, "Okay, well, I'm sorry I choked you, but also like thanks for the cock block," which I thought was really really good line. That's usually something Kenzie would say. And then we notice Bo's hand has already healed, which we find out as a consequence of her feeding on someone. It's like instant, rapid healing.
I think we actually didn't know that until now. We knew that she was like hungry and needed to feed, but not that she could literally heal her wounds from feeding.
And Bo has decided to go to a jewelry store, and she threatens the owner to find out where Connell is, which was lovely. I loved that scene because like she's in there. He's like, "I don't know anything about what you're talking about, lady," and then she like chokes him. A lot of choking in this episode. And then she chokes him, and then right after he gives her the information, which is the Lakeview Motel, she says, straight before she leaves, she goes, "Oh, by the way, that emerald pendant right there, to die for," and then walks out.
I like how she didn't need to use her powers here. She was just like, "Hey, you know what, buddy? This is what I need. I'm gonna get it." She can be intimidating just by herself.
And Bo calls and says to meet at the motel. So we're at the motel that Bo has told Kenzie to meet them at. And Bo conveniently in the cleaners, I'm not sure if most cleaners cart keeps a spare uniform there, but like convenient. And she puts that on and slips into his room, and everything seems fine. She's like, "Hi, I'm here to clean." And then you can see him very clearly behind her just go and get his pew out.
Yet again, another gun.
Because he says, "I'm here to meet somebody," but then as she's doing her busy work, he says, "And I think you're the person I'm here to meet." And then we find out that it turns out that this man stole this gold from the Will of the Wisp because the Will of the Wisp is his father. Dun dun dun! I did not see that coming.
Well, like Trick mentioned earlier in the episode, you need to have 2 Fae parents to have Fae abilities. So we find out that this guy, what's his name again? Mike
Connell.
He only has 1 Fae parent. His other parent was human, and therefore he was not born with any Fae abilities.
Just a handsome face, you poor thing. Like, shut up.
Meanwhile, outside, Kenzie is watching from, I mean, she can't see what's going on in the room, but she's, sitting in the car, just kind of, scoping things out.
Oh, and this was freaky. Like, I was like, this was cool though.
Yeah, so this guy who's wearing like a creepy cloak thing, just like casually detaches his head from his body, puts it down on this cart, and then pops into the room that Bo and Mike are in. So Kenzie very quickly comes running up to try to save the day.
My favorite is when she does come up and she comes up and then the guy like opens the eyes. Like I thought for sure she was gonna like at least pop the head in the trash can or something. Instead she was like, oh!
Because Bo, meanwhile, inside is now like fighting this disheaded body. I was gonna say disembodied head, but no, sorry, the opposite.
So after they deal with this person with a handy dandy broom that was broken in half, we find out a little bit of story from Michael that his mom was like a scientist type person, and she worked at a research station in the woods, and she stumbled upon Will of the Wisp one night, and they had a lovely evening with wine and a little hobbit shack, and I'm sure it was delightful. And from the resulting night, she got pregnant. Throughout the years, all of this man's mom, all she did her whole life was try to find this man again, and that she died with everyone thinking that she was crazy, and that she herself thinking that she herself was crazy. What an awful, torturous existence that must have been for that woman.
Totally. How many people have seen weird things, weird lights in the woods, and people are going to think they're crazy? So I think a lot of people would keep something like that to themselves.
So we find out that he doesn't want, that Michael Connell, he doesn't want the money. He doesn't want these jewels. He doesn't care about any of that stuff. He just wants to see his dad. And you're like, oh, okay. All right. And then Bo, the sweetheart that she is, she wants to make that happen for him. So after that happens and they've killed that headless man and they've had that lovely conversation and we know what this man's motivations are now, we go back to the bar and they're with Dyson and Bo and Kenzie. And Kenzie's getting a lot of looks in this bar because humans do not go in there.
Mm-hmm.
And she has been literally every single eye is on her in this bar. And Trick says she cannot be in here. And Bo says, wherever I go, she goes. And he says, do you claim her? And she says, yeah. She says no, like so nonchalantly, like someone offered her like a little sample at Costco. She's like, yes, sure, like yeah. And then she turns to Kenzie and goes, try not to steal anything.
Of course.
They said that they were attacked by this man who was who just his head off before he went into the fight. Which to me, honestly, it seems like one of those things where like a superhero has to like meditate on the ground to create a double of themselves to go somewhere else, and someone can just sneak up behind the double and just be like, well, you're defenseless right now. Just like, for me, it seems like a design flaw right off the start. Like, they evolved to remove their heads. I'm like, okay, but like, really, like, I'm not, unless they remove it and put it in a safe space before they go in to like kill some people, it's just like a complete like security risk in my mind. But we find out that this person is something called a Doulahan. Is that a real thing?
Yes, it is. So Bo says, oh, it's like the Headless Horseman. But the Headless Horseman is a Doulahan, which is Irish folklore. So they are an omen of death when you see one. And we'll find out later in this episode, whoever initially called the Doulahan, like when they have a job to do, they will not stop until it is done. There's no calling it off. There's no canceling.
And that's how it always is in any other form of media. It's like once you hire the assassin, it's like, no, call it off. And it's like, no, it's too late. You already asked for the job to be done. It's getting done. Like, and I feel like that's always the way it goes. They're mercenaries of the Fey world in the context of Lost Girl, and they've evolved to remove their heads. I'm not sure if that's a step forward, if we want to call it evolution, but sure, okay, why not?
For intimidation. And Bo was like, well, I can attest that it was definitely intimidating.
Yeah, she's if their job is to scare people, like, it worked. So Bo needs Lauren. Bo mentions to Dyson that she needs Lauren to deal with her lethal libido. Love it. And Dyson smirks and says there are other ways to deal with that. And it's like, Bo's just like, okay, well, like, give it a rest for right now. Can you just give me Lauren's number?
No, you know what she actually responds in a really mature way, and she's like, look, I don't want to owe one of your sides, and I need a long-term solution. Like,
yeah,
she didn't just like turn him down. Like, that was a very thoughtful response.
Because she's like, I might still want to do this in the future, to be honest. Mm-hmm. Back with Will at Bo's. And Bo's home with them, and so's Kenzie, and they're there, and he says that he did not send the Doulahan.
Thus.
And, yeah, but Will seems shocked by Connell, that he exists.
Yeah, I just slept with this woman once. Because then when it comes to him, he's like, oh, shit, yeah. Because for anyone who's listening to the podcast, I gestured like a finger with my hands into a hole also made with my hands.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, sorry, we should have. The closed captions. Stacie makes a sex figure with her hands. He seems really happy to be a dad. He's like, what? This is amazing. And that Connell wants to meet. That's what Ken says. And Will wants to meet him too. And we're led to believe that this is so sweet. Like, honestly, like, at this point, I didn't have any trepidations. I thought this was just going to be like, this will be a nice, positive episode. We're only 2 episodes in, so we're not taught to think that everything's going to go wrong every time yet. So after that scene, we flash to Lauren's lab. And I don't know how did she just walk in there? Was my question. Because I was very confused by that.
The Ash has no security.
Yeah, no, I guess not. Like, maybe he wasn't there in the building, or like, I also, does Lauren ever go home? Like, she just happened to be there. She asks for help with controlling her hunger, and Lauren says that she has something that she's used on an incubus. Incubus?
Is the male form of a succubus.
Oh, okay. I bet they're hot. Lauren doesn't want to help just because, like, Bo hasn't picked a side yet. She said that she could be killed just for talking to her at this point. Mm-hmm. But she says, if you can't do it for me, do it for the next person I feed on, which was highly manipulative, but it worked.
Again, it's kind of the same as, like, her response to Dyson. Like, you can't argue with that. Like, she's right. Yeah. And if she probably thinks, well, this woman's a doctor. Like, she made a vow to, heal and protect people. And she's a human. So obviously she's going to want to do what's best for the humans, right?
Yeah, it's a Hippocratic oath, not a hypocritic oath. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but I gotta say, so she, so what do you think Lauren gives her at this point? It was like a pill or something?
It was an injection.
It was an injection, okay. Bo says, like, really, thank you. Like, I'm so appreciative of this. And Lauren just goes, mm-hmm. That's it. That's all. She just goes, mm-hmm. And it was, like, so cold. It was kind of sexy.
Because, like, I think she just did that because that's not what she wanted to do. Yeah, she says join the light. She says no. She leaves. And then we're at the dock/warehouse. Bo walks in, and everything felt fine right up until the moment that she walks into this warehouse, and I'm like, oh no, this is a trap. Like, the second she walks in, I was just like, no, this is, oh damn. We should have, when someone says meet me at a warehouse.
It's worse than a glass factory.
Yeah, exactly. Like, could you meet me at the old rickety sawmill? Feels like a trap, feels sketchy. And Connell comes out, and of course he pulls out a gun on Bo, because he does not want to. Well, I guess he does want to meet his dad, maybe, but he also wants to expose the Fae and expose his dad for what he did to him.
Mm-hmm. And his mother. Get revenge,
yes.
I think.
Yeah, and realistically, I think he's living a pipe dream, because even if what he did do, even if he died, hell, if he died in this situation, it would make it easier to cover up. His argument that, like, if he died, it would blow this thing wide open, I didn't think there was any legitimacy to that.
Yeah, agreed.
So he locks Bo in the storage unit, and then Ken's and Will arrive. He says that he wanted to know him. Like, so there was still some genuine feelings there, despite the trap that he did set up.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, I just like the duality of that. Just like I'm going to do this awful thing, but I'm not sure if I feel bad about it, but also love you.
Pretty much.
His mom also, I think, that expressed before she had passed, that she also wanted this to come out in some way as well. Will the Wisp, he knew that his mom would want to tell the world about him, and if they were in a relationship, and really, like, how would that have worked? And it just couldn't work, so that was why he disappeared. And as this is being explained, a Doulahan another one, the same one as before, I'm pretty sure, because I think in this case, I think if you don't dispose of the head, I think they survive. I think that's what it was. I don't think Bo killed him.
I'm not sure what's going on either, because its lifeless body was sitting in the back of their trunk. So when would it have, like, gone back to its head?
Oh, I think they had the head in the car as well, because she said that there's also one in the back seat. So I guess the body would have come to life, and then he busted out of the trunk or through the back seat. Yeah, but Ken's did say that they were both in there. Yeah. So yeah, Doulahan shows up. Bo fights him again. Another action scene where it appears Anna Silk's actually just doing it all herself. She's very capable. I enjoy the fight scenes in this show.
Me too.
As this is happening in the chaos, Ken's is like, "Hey." And she's got his head above one of those trash cans that's on fire. And it honestly didn't really make him stop at all. He still kind of just rushed towards her. Mm-hmm. So she drops the head in there, and that's when we learn how you kill one of those things. Really kill one of those things.
Again, fatal design flaw.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like you're attacking me, but, like, the thing that will kill you is 10 feet behind me. So it's like, again, you should have left the head outside and then just walked in without the head. It would have went way better for you. Yeah.
Totally.
During the struggle, though, Bo does get a cut on her neck, and it is going quite a bit, and Bo is not healing. However, she's not going anywhere just yet, because even though she is bleeding out right now at the moment, she still wants to get what she came here for, which is, as Will says, it's time for me. I owe you a story. Mm-hmm. And, like, I was honestly so intrigued as soon as he went to go say this, and then when he did actually say it, it was also like a bit of like this is kind of what we thought it was, just a little breadcrumb, not quite enough.
So anticlimactic.
Yeah, well, I mean, and honestly, I don't even think that we're gonna find out, like, true, like, origins of this stuff even in this first season. I don't think, no, because like, not to my memory. So he says that Bo was with a midwife fae when he had stumbled upon her 28 years ago, when she had just been born. She didn't say much because she was terrified. All she said was that she was scared and that someone was trying to hurt Bo. Will tells Bo to find her parents and to give them a chance.
So again, like, all of these characters are so multifaceted because so Will-o'-the-Wisp, like, called the Doulahan, but also, like, had no idea what he was doing and then kind of feels bad about it and was, like, lying and being manipulative and telling Bo that he had a ton of information when really he didn't have much. But I think eventually he's like, yeah, if your parents are out there somewhere, they probably do want to meet you. Just like I wanted to meet this guy, Mike, who is like locking Bo in a storage unit and threatening violence on people. But he just wanted, I think he did genuinely just want to meet his dad, even if he thought that, you know, he was gonna expose the whole Fae, which obviously was not going to happen. Yeah, and then they just disappear, vanish in a puff of green smoke, and that's the end they see of that.
Kenzie is, so we're on the ground, Bo is bleeding. Kenzie says, do you need me to get you? I can't remember if she says, do you need me to get you to the hospital or Lauren? I think she says Lauren. And then Bo says, no, call Dyson.
Mm-hmm.
Bow wow, bow wow, wow.
So at what point did they get a bed, a mattress, nice sheets in this clubhouse? We don't know, but they're there.
Oh, the simple answer to this question, on the way home, well, Dyson and Bo were walking back to Bo's house. I'm assuming Kenzie was at Bed Bath & Beyond. And by Bed Bath & Beyond, I mean the alley behind Bed Bath & Beyond. This show is very... It's very sex forward. It really, really is. Like, it's a result of the channel that it originated from, which was Showcase, which before then was known for mostly Red Shoe Diary reruns, which were also very erotic. Like, the show is very, very sex forward, and I think that's kind of what drew Showcase to it to begin with.
It's also not like HBO, you know? It's like, it's tasteful.
Yeah, and well, yeah, even HBO can be tasteful, but it's just, there is moments where it is less than that. But to be honest, like, honestly, a lot of times when I see scenes like that, often I'll fast forward just for my own discomfort sometimes, especially if it's a man and a woman.
Hetero sex. Ugh.
So, especially if I'm watching it with someone else, I'm like, I'm fast forwarding this for my own comfort. But as it's happening, and then we see that the cuts on her neck are starting to heal, because as Dyson said, I know just what you need.
Yeah, so, I know.
Okay. And that is the end of While There Is a Will, There Is a Fae. No cliffhanger on this episode. Nothing too crazy, but we definitely look forward to watching episode 3, whatever that one is about, because I don't remember.
Rewatching, but also watching for the first time as if anew. Actually, I've already talked to a few people who started listening to our podcast, and they were like, I've never watched this show before. And one of our mutual friends, he's going to be rewatching it for the first time in almost a decade along with us, which is like my most humble honor. I mean, that's what we're here for, obviously. So
I love that.
Scott did post on our Instagram in a highlight all of the different spots where you can watch the show. If you're not able to get it on Blu-ray like Scott did, we have the hookup for you.
If you go on Apple TV, it's $14.99 a season, which is not expensive. It's not expensive at all, and like, that's what I plan to do once I get to the end of my Blu-ray collection. So that about wraps up episode 2 of the Lost Girl Rewatch podcast with Scott and Stacie, covering episode 2 of Lost Girl, Where There's a Will, There's a Fae. We can't wait to watch episode 3 and be back with you guys for the next episode. Until then, we love you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to us and on Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Yeah, we appreciate you guys watching. Wow.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.